I want to introduce you to Lillian DeJean. She's one of our 2020 LPB Louisiana Young Heroes. She just graduated from high school, homeschooled, and next is going to college online at Nicholls State. She has a myriad of illnesses that could keep her from a full, active life, but clearly doesn't.
I have an unspecified mitochondrial disorder and an unspecified autoimmune condition.
18-year-old Lillian DeJean of Lafayette has taken all of what is unspecified about her, those disorders and physical conditions, and pushed past them to become a young woman profoundly defined, resolute, and with a powerful voice for those living with disabilities.
I find a lot of people have expectations of me based on my limitations and based on what my body can and cannot do. And that tends to be more of a hindrance than my actual disability, because I do need accommodations and I do need more rest and I do need these more equipment, but you just go on. Because if I don't go on, I lay around all sad and sick, and no one likes a sad and sick kid laying around.
At 15, she became the first minor ever appointed by any governor to serve as an advocate on the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council.
It's really cool to be on the council, and I'm a huge asset to the council because there hasn't been that youth perspective there. And so to be able to represent that perspective is so important, because we have different needs and different wants and different goals, and we're in a different phase of life than the adults. And so it's been really neat to be able to find my voice there and find my place and carve out a place that's never really been carved out before.
Lillian's mom, Nicole, says her daughter is not to be underestimated.
You really have to step back and really kind of review your bias and your perspective and your assumptions of people with disabilities. Again, when you make the assumption about Lillian or anyone else that you may see, and you assume disability or you assume lower standards, or you set almost lower expectations for that interaction with them, she's one that disproves all of that.
Take a look at these pictures. Here on a machine measuring the strength of her lungs. This one is syringes and feeding tube meds. And here, Time Magazine and CNN interview her as she visited the nation's capital, where she protested against the repeal and replacement of Medicaid. To see that smile and hear her, then to know all she deals with, I couldn't help but be amazed. So she can breathe and get enough oxygen, for example, she's needed a ventilator for the past 5 years. It's right there in her bedroom.
Here, I can show you.
Yeah.
I can give you a tour.
I'd love a tour. I would love a tour. This is what we've heard so much about during COVID.
Yeah, and I can just power it on.
And so you use that when you go to sleep, or?
So overnight and also intermittently throughout the day. There's been periods of my life where I was on it 24/7.
Her use of a feeding tube gave way to a business idea.
So there's these things called tubey pads, and they're a replacement for gauze around a feeding tube. They're reusable and a little bit more fashionable. And so I noticed for a while that there was a gap in the market. So generally, people will create tubey pads specifically for smaller children. So it'll be like cartoon prints. And so for older tubies or people with feeding tubes, this wasn't the best, because at 18, you don't want to be walking around with a SpongeBob tubey pad. So I taught myself how to sew with the help of my mom and started a business and started using fabrics that no one else was using. So like, I make lace tubey pads and I make specialty tubey pads, and more geared towards young adults and adults. I come with a lot of whirring noises with all my machines, and I really have to budget my energy, because if I push myself too hard, then my organ function declines. To be able to kind of spread the message that, okay, if they don't make room at the table for you, you make room at the table for yourself, because no one else is going to give you that room at the table, especially as a person with a disability.
Lillian has a shop on Etsy. It's called To Be Continued. That's Tubie Continued. Young Heroes is presented with the generous support of the Propane Dealers of Louisiana and additional sponsorship from Hancock Whitney, Community Coffee, Demco, and Hotel Indigo.